What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the final video of the set review. We're so excited. These are actually the cards I'm most excited for. Multicolored. It's green and other. It's probably what I put the title. Who knows? But yeah. It's little did you know that instead of Wooburg, it's actually Wooburgo. White, blue, black, red, green, other. Other referring to artifacts, multicolored, and lands, which there's not a lot to say there. But so yeah, we'll get right into it with the green cards. Azusa, Lost But Seeking is 2 and a green for a 1/2 legendary creature human monk. You may play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. Ooh, baby. Okay, I'm gonna be more excited. I'll put this out there now. I'm gonna be more excited for this card than it will be good. Right, so I'm more excited to play with it than I think it'll actually make waves in standard. Oh, the ranking system, that's what it is. So I have a rating system for these, A through F. A means I expected to see consistent, like a staple of the format, so it sees consistent play in tier 1 decks, like it's like a format defining card, like a Teferi or a Narset or an Uro. B would be fringe playable in tier 1 decks, and pretty like consistently playable high level in like tier 2 decks. C would be fringe playable in tier 2 decks. D would be like bad, maybe sideboard play or very very rare play in tier 2 to 3 decks. F is an F, and then sideboard play is, I guess, the whole different thing. So yeah, that's the one we're working with right now. But all that goes to say, Azusa, I don't expect to see a ton of high level play. I expect it to be like at best, like probably a B minus, maybe a C plus. I have hope though, because honestly, the decks I'm picturing with her, she'd be like a B plus. She'd be amazing. It's just she dies to every single piece of removal in the format. We already have so many cards that put lands into play that are better, and you can only have so many, right? Because then you just run out of lands in your hand. Because I mean, if you put this Grazer and Uro in a deck and you have a hand of Grazer, Uro, Azusa, you're just gonna run out of lands on turn 3. So in that regard, it's kind of mutually exclusive with a lot of the cards that we're playing right now. But there are like some cool combo style decks that this would be really cool in. I don't know if they're combo style, but value style decks. But these are tier 2, and that's why I expect it to be more like a B minus or a C plus rather than like an A. Well, definitely not an A. B minus at best. Because you got things like Experimental Frenzy, you have Rada, and you have Bolas's Citadel, which all really gain a ton of value from letting you play multiple lands on top of your deck. Because you're drawing cards effectively. You're putting material onto the battlefield, and then to make sure you draw spells the next turn. If you've seen my Sultai Citadel deck, ooh, you should check that out. You've seen how powerful it is if I untap with even just a Dryad of the Elysian Grove on the battlefield. Just that one extra land drop does so much work to let you storm off. But honestly, the thing with Azusa dying to everything in the format doesn't bother me a ton, because you really only need to hit the 2 extra land drops the one turn you play her for her to be good. And you know, that's a dream scenario where you have her on turn 3. Sure, that's fair. Because you don't want to be playing, 4 of these because they're legendary. So you probably want to play like 3 at max, probably 2. And they're bad in multiples because of legendary, and just because if you have one around for a turn or 2 and then they kill it, you still you probably don't have any lands left to turbo out. But anyway, this gets hit by like a Stomp or a Shock, right? Well, you play this on turn 3 or turn 2 after a Grazer or a Land Elf if you're in Historic, and then you maintain priority. So unless you're playing a land that gives your opponent priority, like a Scry land or something, you will still ramp 2 on turn 3, which is a really powerful effect. It's an explosive vegetation an entire turn earlier. Or, gosh, what's the card now? You guys know what I'm talking about. The 4 mana, put 2 lands into play. So, except whereas those kind of draw you cards out of your deck, this takes cards from your hand. But still, you get the point. That's still really powerful and an important play pattern. So if you have a Scry land and a land that doesn't put an ability onto the stack, play the other one first before the Scry land. Otherwise, they can respond to the Scry land and kill her before you play the other one. But that seems insane to me. And with Ugin, well, spoilers, Ugin's gonna be in the format. I would totally see myself wanting to play a deck with like 2 of her and like 4 Cultivate. because as we get more and more powerful cards in the top end, they're not just turboing out, that can actually win games. Cards like Ugin. There's something to be said about playing longer games. Well, I'll get to that with Cultivate. Playing longer games, whereas right now we're kind of turboing out to like 5 drops and 6 drops. If the 7th and 8 drops are really worth it, you'll find yourself picking some more powerful ramp pieces because the payoff is enough to make up for this quote-unquote card disadvantage as opposed to playing an Uro, if you know what I mean. But either way, maybe just put 1 or 2 of these in a deck with an Uro in it. Ooh, also, this card might be decent in a, honestly, a Jund Food deck. If you go to like the super grindy version of Times Past with like Corvolds and stuff. If you guys saw my channel, I played a, it was Canister's Jund Food list, and I made 1.5 changes to it. I don't remember the other change. But one big change I made is I put like 2 or 3 Dryads of the Elysian Grove in there. And I played like 2 mirror matches, I think, in that video. And I just decimated them every time I drew the Dryad. It was just making extra land drops because that deck is so mana hungry. And it just gets so much material and card advantage that you just end up with so many lands in hand. This will help so much. If you have like a Goose and a Trail of Crumbs in play, and then you play Azusa, like you're doing it, man. You're doing it. You're gonna have so much mana to get cards, and you're gonna be able to deploy all those cards because that deck is just so mana hungry. I kind of want to try her in that deck as well. So that's where I see her. So yeah, if she's good in food, I guess I would make her like a B. But I expect her to be like a C to a B minus, somewhere in that range. But I'm definitely gonna brew around her a ton. Oh, you best believe it. Her with Rada, yes please. You know, I'm gonna call a shot here. I think B minus. B minus. Also with Zendikar coming in. With Zendikar coming in next set. Ooh, she'll probably spike up. She'll probably spike up in value a ton. So yeah. Calling it. Burl Fist Oak. 2 green for a 2/3. Whenever you draw a card, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So it's a 4 mana 4/5. Limited. Canopy Stalker. Must be blocked if able. Whenever die. Okay. Can't, limited. Dreadmaws limited. Cultivate. Yes. 2 and a green for sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards. Put 1 onto the battlefield tapped, and the other into your hand. Then shuffle your library. I love this card. When this got spoiled, I was like, okay. Okay, there was this in one other card that I'm like, this is definitely my set. Wizards is speaking to me, that they know that I'm disillusioned with Magic right now, and they just want to pull me back. That's how it happens, man. So anyone who played Duels of the Planeswalkers, any of those old games, every ramp deck or multicolored deck had Cultivate for the man base because they didn't want to put in like shock lands and tap lands and tri lands, any complicated stuff like that. So it's all basics for all the decks in that game, except for Evolving Wilds. So the way you'd always fix your mana is Cultivate. So this is like a card near and dear to my heart. There's a 5-color deck in one of those games that is so much fun to play. You have like Maelstrom Angels Maelstrom Archangel, Maelstrom Wanderer, Maelstrom Nexus. Crazy cards like that. Savage Twisters. There's a card that's costs 4 and a blue. You draw a card for each basic land type among lands you control. So it's just a 5 mana draw 5. They also had the card All Sun's Dawn, I think, where you return a one card for each color: white, blue, red, green, black. It had conflicts too. Oh, that was so much fun. Anyway, Cultivate is great. It's the green divination, but even better. Because it is a 2-for-1, right? So you put a land on the battlefield and you draw cards. So that's 2 cards worth that you're getting from it. It fixes your mana and it accelerates you. Those are 3 amazing things to be doing, you know? And it's a ramp piece. Most of the ramp pieces right now take lands from your hand. This gets you more lands, so you're guaranteed to hit your 5th mana with this card. I can't tell you how many games I've played where I go like Grazer turn 1, Uro turn 2, and then I just, you put a land in and then you just never get past 4 lands for like 2 or 3 turns, and all that's wasted. Cultivate, you don't have that problem. Cultivate's a beautiful thing. I love it so much. It doesn't, have the insane endgame or life gain or straight up raw card draw of Uro. Sure, but it could be played alongside it. I could see myself playing like 4 Grazer, 4 Uro, 2 or 3 Cultivates. Absolutely. I could see myself playing this in Obzon deck because I don't have access to Uro then. It's, yeah, it just does those three things. It's a 2-for-1, ramp, acceleration, fixing. Or ramp acceleration. It's ramp and fixing, which is just incredible. I love this card. I think it'll actually, okay, it'll depend. If we're just all about getting cards out as quickly as possible, and there's not good answers to Uro, which Scavenging Ooze coming up might help with that, then I think this card might see even more play than I think. Like, it might be B territory, or even B+. Because if you're going into the long game, this, and like I said, you're just trying to get to Ugin, this sets you up better for making sure you're hitting your 7th and 8th land drops every game than an Uro would, if that makes sense. Uro requires other things to then help you draw more cards to then hit your 7th and 8th land drops. It'll get you to the 4 and 5 more quickly, but you know, it won't guarantee the next land drop. And who knows, man? Even without fires, maybe this will help me play a 5-color deck again. You know, be able to fit in a couple basics, and I mean that's greedy, but you know that's what I'm about. Also, this art's pretty cool. Not gonna lie, and they have the same art too. I love it. I love it. One of my favorite cards. I'm sure I'm overhyping it, but it's just does so much work. It's so much better than you think it is. Drowsing Pteranodon, 1 and a green for a 3/3 dinosaur with defender. As long as you call creature power for great. Okay, limited. Elder Gargaroth, 3 green for 6/6 creature beast with vigilance, reach, and trample. Whenever Elder Gargaroth attacks or blocks, choose one. Create a 3/3 green beast creature token. You gain 3 life, or you draw a card. Wow, that's a lot of text. As if questing beast wasn't enough already. I saw Professor Knox put out a post about this, and he put a box over the text and put his own text, and it said, when it enters the battlefield, choose one. And it says, gets bounced by Teferi, gets killed by Heartless Act, you die to a expansion explosion, or something like that. I don't remember the third one. Oh yeah, dies to Elspeth Conquers Death. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. And there is kind of a point there. It doesn't have, it is an investment, and so it will be, here's the thing, right? I'm gonna pull up, do this every time. Empty Goldfish, Staring Decks of Metagame. Boom, I was pulling this in all the other ones. Whoa, really? What? Okay. Jessica Luca just shot up to the top, that's interesting. Anyway. So, in the current meta, there are a couple decks where this is quite bad against. I would say blue-white or Team or Wreck. It's probably pretty bad on, yeah. Jund, it's probably decent. But yeah, Bant, Esper, If Rakdos, they have sideboard cards that are pretty decent removal. Jessica Luca. Anything that plays ECD or Teferi, or, I mean, honestly, Heartless Act would be pretty insane with the 2. But that doesn't mean it's terrible. On the off chance that they don't have those cards, this is still amazing. And there's something to be said about overloading your opponent's removal. I think Gruul is getting to a point where it might be able to deploy enough threats that your opponent has to answer like almost every one. And so if every card you have is a must-answer card, one of them is going to get through, you know? One of them is going to stick around and win you the game. So if you have, you know, Skargan Hellkite, Elder Gargaroth, Questing Beast, Gruul Spellbreaker, Pelt Collector, all those things. Or even in like mono green, you have your Yorvos, you have your Pelt Collectors, you have Questing Beast, Vivian, this is your top end. It's, oh, yeah, it's great. Or you could even go Gruul and go the, I don't know, you might want to try Rhythm of the Wild or Domri to give this thing Riot so it can have haste. That'll help out a lot too. But even if it just doesn't even see any play until rotation because of those cards, or against those decks, this is still just a phenomenal, at the very least, sideboard card against like any aggressive deck. This against Gruul, or this against mono red, or even maybe not mono black. Depends on what removal they're still playing. That just does so much work because it almost has an immediate effect, because when they attack in, because it's when it blocks too, you're going to gain some life or draw a card or make a beast token. It has vigilance, so now you can race them really easily. It has reach, so it can block phoenixes. It has trample, so that when you attack, they can't just chump them out of existence. And you can gain life if you've stabilized in terms of like your creatures versus theirs, and you're just trying to not get burned out. It can make creatures so that you're at parity on creatures, so your blocks are good. It could draw you a card if you have to just try to find one removal spell to get that Embercleave off the board or something. It's it does work in those matchups. Any sort of mid-rangey matchup where they aren't just playing all the removal and like 2 win cons, or any sort of aggressive matchup where their removal is pretty limited, or just going for efficiency rather than being able to kill anything. This will be a ball buster in those matchups. And so that's what I'm excited for. This would be a great card. I'd put this in like I'm kind of picturing either a Gruul deck or like an Obs on mid-range deck. This could be a cool thing because incidental life gain is really good for those to help against mono red. Yeah, I love this at the very least as a sideboard card right now. It just has too much text to not be good, especially in those matchups. Yeah, even against Jund Food, unless they're, they sideboard in their casualties of war and stuff, which, if you're a mid-range deck playing this, they're probably going to. But game 1, Mayhem Devil's going to have a hard time pinging this out. Corvold will do some decent work against it. But, yeah, I would give this probably like a, same thing, like B-, maybe a C+. Fringe, tier 1 play. Very consistent tier 2 play. And or an excellent sideboard card for tier 1. Feline Sovereign. 2 and a green for a 2/3 cat. Other cats you control get +1/+1 and a protection from dogs. Interesting. Whenever one or more cats you control deal combat damage to a player, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment that player controls. Dogs beg, cats lay claim. Rude. That's pretty insane. If dogs was an archetype that was actually supported, that protection from dogs thing would be really insane. Right now, Pack Leader is pretty much Pack Leader and the 1/1 that you can sacrifice to give something indestructible are really the only like real dogs in standard right now. I guess there's gonna be the Theros 1 in a red 3/1 Hound from the Underworld or whatever, Underworld Hound, but that's not like a real constructed card. But that second thing, whenever 1 or more deal combat damage to a player, destroy it up to 1 target artifact or enchantment, that's pretty sick. It doesn't proc for each cat. If you attack with 3 cats and they all hit, you still only kill 1 thing. So that's kind of a bummer. But there's a lot of artifacts enchantments you want to kill in standard right now. So I think this would be a huge reason to want to be in the cats deck. Because, you can hit their Witch's Ovens, you can hit Trail of Crumbs, you can hit Bolas's Citadel, Wilderness Wreck, ECD, any sort of other enchantment removal. If you're up against the mono white decks or the green white enchantment stacks, yeah, there's a lot to play around there. And cats have a lot more support than dogs, so I would give this probably like a C. I think cats will be a tier 2 deck, so it'll probably be a staple in the tier 2 deck. I'm trying to think of other cats that see play in tier 1 decks right now. Can't think of any, but this would have to be played in a cat deck, not just with one other cat for it to be good, in my opinion. So, yeah. Fierce Empath, yes! Gosh, I love green in the set. 2 and a green for a 1/1 elf creature. When Fierce Empath enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card with CMC 6 or greater. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. I love this card. This was in another one of those Duels of the Planeswalkers decks. And you'd fetch up, I think the card you were playing, they didn't have like Ulamogs and stuff like that, but they had a couple of the uncommon Eldrazi for you to fetch up. There was one that cost like 10 mana, I think, and it was a 10/9 with Annihilator 2 or 3, and it let you return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield when you cast it. That was so much fun to fetch up with this. There was also Avenger of Zendikar in that deck. Very good. Yeah, this is... Whew. It does make you search a creature card right now. I'm trying to think what creature cards you'd want to fetch up in standard right now. Best cards I can think of right now are like Niv Mizzet, Izoni, Gyruda. Although this in a Gyruda deck wouldn't be very good. Couldn't fetch up Terror of the Peaks. That's one I'd be excited for. Agent of Treachery would have been one to fetch up with this, I imagine. Trying to think what else. You know what? Let's look it up, shall we? Gatherer. We got no rush. Card format. Standard. Card type. Creature. Sort order, converted mana cost. Boom. And then we just start from the back and move up. I know there's a ton of like Krakens and stuff to fetch up. That'd be some fun jank. Not amazing, but alright. Ooh, Lorthos the Tidemaker. That was a card that was with this one, and okay. I can see why it took a while. We fetched up every creature card in Standard. And Standard's huge right now. So yeah, sorry for the delay, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Life's been crazy, so I wasn't able to do this beforehand. Okay. So, Impervious Great Worm. Titanoth Rex. Molder Hulk. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Something you can cast cheap. These two, no thank you. Villas. Triple black. That 2 life is nah. Gate Colossus. Endray's Forerunners. Now we're talking. Endray's Forerunners. Yadaro. Tell you what, if you want to cycle out Yadaro, you just keep on fetching him up and cycling him. You have to wait to blink this dude or something, but I mean that's a way to try to hit all 4 copies. That's pretty cool. Wrecking Beast, no. Workshop Builders, no. No. Thorn Mammoth, Terramount Velis, no. Sifara, that'd be a weird combination of cards to play. Scholar of the Ages if you want to play some jank. Realm Cloak Giant. Now that's pretty cool. Being able to fetch up a Wrath card with this, that's pretty interesting. I'm down for that, I think. I'm down for that. Nyxbloom Ancient. Okay, I could see that. I think Nyxbloom Ancient and Endray's Forerunners are the most common right here. Meteor Golem, yes, if you're playing jank like that. Howling Giant, Hatchery Spider, Greater Sandworm, Dracuseth. Beanstalk Giant. That would be kind of interesting. Yeah, not a lot of 6-drops that are exciting either. There is also that one creature. It's a 4/3 with Flash, Bounce something, Surveil 3. I always forget its name. But that was like super fringe playable for a little while there. Don't know what deck you'd be playing that and this together in. That'd be a weird deck to have, but you know, what are you gonna do? Wait, this is Standard playable right now? Dang, I didn't even realize. Okay, Dragons, Scattlegator, Ravager Worm, that's going to fetch up. Niv Mizzet, like I said, Lockmere Serpent, that'd be weird. Kogla, there we go. Okay, yeah, so there's about 4, maybe 5 creature cards that you'd want to fetch up with this right now. Dream Trawler. So, it has some value there. I'm not sure. You'd probably just rather have some more card draw and some Uros. I don't know what you'd be cutting to put this in decks like that. But it is cool to have. You know me. I always just like being able to fetch up cards. I love toolbox cards. What I'm excited for this is in a Vannifar deck. This seems hilarious. In a Journey to Eternity deck in older formats, historic. Definitely down for that. But yeah, I'm totally down for being able to fetch up Meteor Golems, Koglas, maybe even a Dream Trawler. I don't think that'll fit in the same deck. But there's just so much value to, I mean, I guess it's a chum blocker that fetches you up. It's the green Grim Tutor. But that being said, I don't expect to see hardly any play. Like C or C- is probably where I'd put it. Fringe playable in tier 2 decks. I'm going to be playing it 100%. But I just feel like we have so many better cards. Maybe come rotation, maybe. But at that point, we are also losing some bigger cards. Endray's Forerunners is what I like the most right now, because then that makes this body matter. Because then it becomes a 3/3. So that's what I'm most excited for at that point. But, yeah, most of the other ones, they'd just be fetching up for value. So 3 mana that draws you your best card at the time. Probably. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. So yeah, French playable. Fungal Rebirth. 2 and a green for an instant. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. If a creature died this turn, create 2 1/1 green sapling creature tokens. And it's an instant. So I am actually really impressed with this card. I think it's pretty phenomenal. I don't think it's too hard, especially if you're playing, like you're planning for it. I don't think it's too hard to have a creature die, especially this is an instant too. So you could even just hold it up when your opponent has a sweeper. But at that point, you'd probably just want to play a card that's coming up that gives your creatures Heroic Intervention, gives them Indestructible and Hexproof. But that's just another thing it's useful for. In creature matchups, let's say you guys swing out, you all trade a ton of cards, then you return your best card, or even a Planeswalker, because this hits Planeswalkers too. So if you ultimate a Planeswalker early, you can get it back. If you if Planeswalker died in combat and you trade off to try to help protect it, to kill it anyway, you play this, get it back. Just something that, it's a regrowth that also affects the board. Not all the time. Not all the time. But if you make your deck to support it, most of the time. And so that's where I'm thinking, even in like a Jund sacrifice deck, like if you just play this with Cat, this gets back your Oven, this gets back a Mayhem Devil, Corvold, trying to think. Colorless Citadel, if you're still playing it like that. Pull back a Woe Strider. Yeah, with a Woe Strider, this is super easy to proc as well. So, yeah. If you're making like a Rakdos Sacrifice and green, rather than a normal Jund food deck, and you can find the slots for this. Sure, yeah, I'm totally down for it. I'm trying to think black-green decks. There's some Fiend Artisan actions going on, but Fiend Artisan costs mana to sack the creature, so you probably won't have mana left over for this. So that's not a play pattern I'm super excited about. But honestly, if you're playing like a black-green mid-range deck and you have like Liliana at the top of your curve, you just -4 her. Both people sack creatures, you get some cards. If that killed her, you bring her back, make 2 1/1s. I don't know, dude, because I'm just excited to have this. It seems perfect for like a mid-rangey grindy deck. It does kind of suck that you already have to. It's only good like in the late game, so I'd probably only play 1 or 2. Because if you just have 2 of these in your starting hand, you're not feeling great, because you want to be able to last till the later part of the game to have something good to return. But yeah, because the problem with regrowth is you wouldn't affect the board, and this affects the board if you build your deck for it. So I'd give it a C. Fringe playable, maybe like I could see it seeing very fringe sideboard play in the tier 1 decks. I'd be surprised if it was like in more than just Jund food at this point. Grilled mid-range would be weird. Mono green, maybe, probably not. Bant is a no. They don't have enough creatures. Yeah. Also this with Tamiyo, pretty hilarious. So if you're like a Sultai deck and you have some sack outlets, just getting this, sacking things, getting it back, making tokens, like pretty cool. Tamiyo with anything is really good though. So yeah, love this card. Also, Tamiyo helps fuel your graveyard to find stuff to get with this. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. That is the wrong Garrick. This is limited card. Garrick's Harbinger, let's go. 1 green for a 4/3 creature beast with hexproof from black. Whenever Garrick's Harbinger deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, look at that many cards from the top of your library. You may reveal a creature card or Garrick Planeswalker card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Man, dude, green just gets ridiculous card advantage these days. And I think that's why I like it so much now. It has mana fixing, so I can play multiple colors. It has creatures that are good for mid-range, and it has card advantage through creatures, which is awesome for mid-range. So I really like this card. If it had trample instead of, I'd actually rather have trample than instead of hexproof from black with this, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I mean, if you're the aggressor, this can just straight up draw you a card, because it's a creature or Garrick Planeswalker card, which is insane. So if you put this in the right deck, that's going to be like over half of your deck are hits, and you're looking at 4 cards. Usually. If you give it trample, maybe put this in like a Collision Colossus deck. So at that point, maybe you put this in like a combo deck, Collision Colossus, to help you look 7 cards deep to find your creature. Actually 8 cards. But if you have any way to get this to trample, it just proccing all the time would be so sick. Because even just going 1 or 2 cards deep, you could find yourself drawing cards like every other time with that. Because going 4 cards deep in just any creature, it's insane. Yeah, 3 mana 4/3 is already like decent. It's borderline. 3 mana 4/4 would be like, you'd be looking at it, you're like, okay, like this means business. You take away 1 toughness and you let it draw you cards, that's pretty insane. And then also hexproof from black. Yeah, most of the red removal right now deals 2 damage because we got Shock and Stomp. They can sideboard in like Lava Coil and stuff, but most of their main deck stuff wouldn't even deal with this. So that's pretty good. Flame Sweep doesn't deal with this. It does die to Deafening Clarion, which is kind of a bummer, especially with Luca being a big thing. It draws you a card of Shatter this guy, so that's cool. It attacks through Bertha Miletus walls. Yeah. The one thing I'm thinking though is with Omen of the Sun being a thing and like the Yorion decks, or if Luca or if Yorion's played in the Luca decks too, and they play Omen of the Sun, they can just chump block this thing kind of into oblivion, which is kind of a bummer. But oh my gosh, dude, this is super neat, and I'm definitely a fan. If you put the other cards in your graveyard, this would be just disgusting. You know, you just draw a creature, put an Uro in your graveyard with 2 other cards. That'd be sick. But yeah, I like it. I think I'm gonna give this a B. I think that there will be, especially, okay, at least mono green, which is a thing right now. At least mono green will pick this up. So that's one tier 1 deck that'll play it. Who knows, there might be another mid-rangey deck like a Sultai midrange or Abzan midrange that comes up. That makes it, Sorry, I got a message from client. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Sultai midrange, Abzan midrange. If those become a deck, this might see a little bit of play from there. Depends on how Planeswalker heavy it is and stuff, because you tend to play a little bit more removal in some of those decks. But we do have creatures that are removal, so this is even better with adventure creatures, right? Gruul decks might pick this up. Because then if you have Embercleave, oh baby. It has trample and it hits twice. Yeah, I'm down for that. Yeah, this card is B. Strong B. I'll play it at least. Love this card. Garruk's Uprising. 2 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever it enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Creatures you control have trample. Pretty good with this card over here. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater ETBs, draw a card. Thank you. They fixed these cards. These cards usually suck in the late game, and so you have to have them early game. But then you're also kind of in a weird spot because, like, let's say it's turn 2, you probably don't have 4 power out there. So then you have to take a turn off, play this, and then play your big 3 or 4 drop that have 4 power, and you're just kind of behind on board. This way, your first creature you play, you can play that first creature that you took a turn off to wait to play this. You can play that first and then play this, and you still get your card out of it. It works either way. So that's awesome. Giving your creatures trample is really good, especially with some cards like this that proc when they deal damage. And the fact it works both ways. I could... It is still just... It gets hit by ECD and requires you to have so many things. It's like the poor man's Great Henge. Honestly, pretty much. Because Great Henge, you want to be playing a ton of 4 power or greater creatures. It does proc for then your Pelt Collectors and stuff too, for sure. But this one doesn't. So that's a big difference. But this also isn't a mythic. So yeah, I could maybe see this as like a sideboard card. I'd give it like a C. I think it'd be tier 2 play or sideboard cards in tier 1. Like maybe like a 1 or 2. Mono green. I'd be surprised if it's all placed anywhere else. Maybe Gruul. But with Gruul, you'd probably just rather play like a Domri or something. Which affects, can draw you multiple creatures and it gives them Riot, adds mana, helps you ramp. So yeah, I give it a C. Super excited for it though. Garruk's Warsteed. That is a dual dex. Real Garruk. Garruk Unleashed. 2 green for a 4 loyalty Garruk Planeswalker. +1. Up to 1 target creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample until end of turn. -2. Create a 3/3 green beast creature token. Then if an opponent controls more creatures than you, put a loyalty counter on Garruk Unleashed. You get an emblem with, at the beginning of your upkeep, for -7. You get an emblem with, at the beginning of your end step, you may search your library for a creature card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So his ultimate just wins games, straight up. Like, that is just disgusting. That's what dreams are made of. His +1 is actually super aggressive, gives trample. Again, this into Garruk is a really good curve right there. And he can find Garruk, like, come on, dude. Come on. His -2, I just don't like the way they worded it. Because it makes it worse, which is probably good for power considerations. Because you -2 him, he goes down to 2, then goes back up to 3. And then you can -2 him again. He goes down to 1. Yeah, down to 1, back up to 2. But if he's at 2 loyalty and you activate this and they have more creatures than you, he still just dies. Because it takes him off first and then puts it back on. It sees that he has 0 and he just dies. So I'm sure they did that on purpose. I'm sure it wasn't an accident. But that makes it a lot worse, in my opinion. Like if they said this costs 1 less if they have more creatures. But here's the thing with his -2 to me. I almost don't even really count this. Because if they have more creatures than you and you play this, at best you're equal in creatures. At worst they still have more than you. And chances are they can just attack him down and kill him. But if he's coming down on curve and that's the case, they're probably going to have all like 2/2s and 1/1s. Maybe like 1/3/3 or something. Depends on if you're on the draw or not, obviously. But in that regard, if they trade off like their whole board with your creatures, and you maybe trade off 1 creature and then you have 2 that stick around, and they trade off their whole board to kill Garrick, that's pretty good in my opinion. That's pretty good. And so now I'm just imagining curves in mono green where it's like turn 3 Harbinger or turn 2 off a Grazer or something. I don't know. Whatever floats your boat, man. And then next turn Garrick, and then turn after that the Elder Gargarath or like a Questing Beast or something. Give him Trample. This plus Questing Beast is really good too, because it gives Questing Beast Trample, so if they block, it only prevents 1 damage because it's a Death Touch. So yeah, I actually really like this card and the way it fits in and interacts with a lot of the cards. Both being printed new into Standard and that already existed, which is pretty sweet. So yeah, I'm super down with that. Yeah, I think I'd give Garrick a B. I think he'll be really good in mono green, especially once Vivian rotates. And he's easier to cast than Vivian. Vivian does give counters, and the fight effect is really good. Because removal is something green's looking for. So I don't really see him replacing Vivian right now. Maybe in addition to. Because he's also another threat. Because he just makes, he makes 3/3s as well. Yeah, but otherwise I could see him in Gruul. Because like I said, he plays well. I like this as a Gruul card. It's great with Embercleave. And because against creature decks, Gruul plays fewer larger creatures. So you might even get a little bit of a bonus on his -2. And you'll have the situation, like I said before, where your creatures are bigger, you just have fewer. So they'll have to trade off most of their board to get in and finish off the Garrick. So yeah, I think I'll see playing mono green in Gruul, and then quite a bit of play in tier 2 decks, I imagine, as well. I mean, heck, I'm going to try him out quite a few decks. Yeah, that Trample. +3/+3 and Trample just does so much with so many of the cards we're seeing. Gnarled Sage, limited, Heroic Intervention, 1 in a green for an instant, permanency control gain, hexproof and indestructible till end of turn. Dang, bro. Dang. This is what I want in life. This is absolutely what I want in life. Helps protect you against spot removal. Helps protect you against exile effects, destroy effects, sweepers, current sweepers, future spot removal. It's great. It's a combat trick, and it's also a counter spell. Phenomenal card. I think I'll just give it an A because I don't see it won't see main deck play, but you best believe tier 1 creature decks with green will be playing this 100%. So maybe A is not right. I guess a B or C plus. Definitely sideboard play. Maybe main deck 1 or 2 of these. Depends on what kind of deck you're playing. I'll be putting this. I could see myself definitely putting this in like a Vanifar deck of mine. Because, I just commit everything to the board. But yes, this just does so much work. It's such a good rate too. Because they'll spend like 4 mana on a sweeper, 3 mana at the cheapest. It won't help you against Cry of the Carnarium. So that's a bummer. But again, if you're in green, you're probably playing bigger creatures anyway. So that won't be a huge problem for you. But yeah, the one thing that's a problem with it though, Teferi. You can't do this in response to anything. You can't play it on their turn. You can't. So, excuse me. That'll be kind of a bummer. But honestly, if you're an aggressive creature deck and they have a Teferi on the board, you're doing great anyway. But yes, that is a huge bummer. When Teferi rotates out, this will just be an absolute staple in sideboards. So maybe you'll see a little less play for now. But you best believe it does amazing work. It's just so mana efficient, protects so much of your stuff. Excellent card. Hunter's Edge, 3 in a green, put a counter, and then damage. Yeah, it's limited. Invigorating Surge. 2 and a green, put a counter on a creature, then double limited. Joel Royale, Wanvuli Recluse. 1 and a green for a 1/2 human druid, legendary creature. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 2/2 green cat creature token. 4 green. Until end of turn, creatures you control have base power and toughness XX, where X is the number of cards in your hand. Wow. That's pretty great. It being a 1/2 is kind of a bummer. Even if it was an 0/3, I'd probably like it more. It just dies to everything. And this is a card that actually has to stick around. But honestly, 2-drops is kind of like the end, like the very end of when it's acceptable for a card to just do nothing when it enters and to be powerful on rate after that. Because it's not a ton of mana. 3 and up, it's a real huge tempo loss. But the fact that this can get out of control pretty quickly. And it's each turn too, so I don't know how deep you want to go, but you could play this turn 2, Uro turn 3, turn 4, you could go, I don't know, Opt on your turn, Chemister's Insight on their turn or something. I don't know what kind of deck that is. Alright, how about this? This card turn 2, Uro turn 3, Double Growth Spiral turn 4. Seems fair, right? Seems like a total hand you would have. Those are all dream scenarios, but honestly this into Uro, you're effectively getting a 3/4 power and toughness for your 2 mana card with more upside because of that last ability. And just think of how many times you flood out a little bit. Creature control of base power and toughness XX. So it'll pump itself. You need to have at least like 3 cards in hand to really get anything out of that. It'll make your Uro weaker, which would be a bummer if you're bringing that back. But I have seen cards like this. There's a lot of green cards or Simic cards that when you draw cards, you put counters on it. So they'll have base power and toughness really low, which will make this even better. This with like a Fiend Artisan is pretty good too. Cards like that. So that then even if you just have like 3 cards in hand, you're still pumping it by at least 2. And giving a whole team 2/2/2 is pretty sick at that point. That's a lot to do. Endray's Forerunners ends games by doing that. So, I mean, the trample and stuff helps, but yeah, if you practice twice, like you're definitely getting your money's worth. This is like the green Ephemia. So I guess I'll give it the same grade I would give an Ephemia. A C+ or a B-. Ephemia was doing work for me and before Ikoria hit, and the meta just kind of got all messed up. But Ephemia would single-handedly win games for me. This doesn't get hit by ECD. If it gets bounced by Teferi, that's kind of a bummer, but it's not like a ball buster because it only costs 2 mana. But yeah, Ephemia would win games by itself for me, just from me playing my game. And this is kind of what I think you're doing here. Blue-green just has so many cards that just incidentally draw you extra cards, so you're going to make a 2/2 pretty much every turn. If you can practice on your opponent's turn at all, then you're really living the dream, but I don't think you need to. Because yeah, like I said, if you do this once, you're getting a 3/4 for 2 mana effectively, with upside. I think that's great. So yeah. Yeah, Fringe playable in some tier 1 decks, definitely playable in tier 2 decks. Life Goes On. Sideboard card against mono red, I guess. Gaining 8 life. Don't know if I'd play it. Llanowar Visionary. 2 and a green for a 2/2 elf druid creature. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, and you can tap it to add green. I actually love this card. This card looks terrible, and it will be against decks like mono red and stuff, you know, they'll just kill it. But that's still a 2-for-1. This is the poor man's Uro, dude. You have to squint a little bit, but you see it's there. It's a body. Not as good of a body, but it's a body. It doesn't have the life gain. But it's a creature in green for 3 mana that draws you a card and ramps you the next turn. Like when you untap, you have more mana. For a common, that's pretty powerful, right? This will make so many budget ramp decks possible. Like just play 4 of this, 4 Cultivate, boom, done. Easy. Let's go. Next challenge. Grazer into this is also pretty funny. And like I said, the same thing where there's a lot of cards in standard right now, Growth Spiral, Grazer, Uro, where they require you to have the lands in your hand in order to ramp, and you have to keep hitting land drops for that to actually work. This negates that problem. It helps you find more fuel, and it ramps you without you needing to have like 6 or 7 lands in your first, like, you know, 15 cards of your deck, or like, you know, 12 cards of your deck, which is pretty sick. I really like this. I would honestly give it a C, maybe a C+. I wouldn't even be super surprised if I saw this, well, especially after rotation, when we lose Grazer and Growth Spiral, seeing like Fringe play in tier 1 or tier 1.5 decks. And I think it'll actually be a staple in tier 2 decks, for sure. Budget decks, absolutely. It's so powerful. It's so good. If it was a 2-3, oh no. If it was a 2-3, I think I would just give it like almost a B- at that point. Honestly. The fact it dies to Stomp, though, is a huge downside. Bounce Spite of Fairy is kind of bad. You'd also get to draw a card, though, so. Yeah, any removal still 2 for 1. And that's where I'm like, yeah, that could be worse, man. Could be worse. So, Ornery Dilophosaur. 3 in your green for a 2-2 with Death Touch. When it attacks, if you control, it gets +2/+2 limited. Kind of cool in the Death Touch tribal deck. There's a limited card, Predatory Worm. Limited, well, 4 mana 4/4 Vigilance. And that's a 6/6 if you play a Garruk after it. C-. A tier 2 Garruk based deck. I think this will be kind of funny. Don't really see it. 4 mana 4/4 Vigilance is good on rate, but creatures have evolved so much that's not good anymore. Limited. Primal Might. X and a green for sorcery. Target creature you control gets +X/+X till end of turn. Then it fights with one target creature you don't control. I could see myself playing this in some Gruul decks or in some mono green decks. It's a removal piece and a pump spell, so it's never dead. Because, you know, usually you have to play like a Ram Through or something if you want to have removal in a green deck. This fills both roles, you know? It doesn't deal damage to planeswalkers, which makes it a huge bummer. That's the biggest downside to it. But if your opponent doesn't have creatures to fight, then you're just going to be able to attack down their planeswalker anyway. It can't help you get around Summoning Sickness in the way Ram Through would. But, dude, it just negates so many of the problems. Because Ram Through against a non-creature deck, you're like, eh. And then like a Giant Growth against a non-creature deck, or it feels like a wasted card, right? Well, this is filling both roles. And against a creature deck, it's such a ball buster, man. It's like a Collision Colossus, but you get to make them block beforehand. That's how I would see it. You get to pump up your dude. Like, let's say you have like, even if you have like a Questing Beast or something, right? And then you untap on this on turn 5. You cast this for X equals 4. You make your Questing Beast an 8/8. It fights down one of the dudes. Now you get in for 8 damage. That is such a tempo swing. That's just insane. It's like the green unsummon of tempo. Or if you want to be super mana efficient and you played a Questing Beast turn 4 and they killed it, and they have a creature out or something. Play a Questing Beast, play this for 1 mana, Questing Beast fights their creature, then you get in for 4. It's the flexibility and the fact that it makes it like almost never dead. Because worst case scenario against a control deck with no creatures, you just give your creature +5/+5 or something. Worth it to me, man. Worth it to me. I would give this like I guess I'd have to give it like a B or a B-. I think it'll show up in Gruul and mono green. Maybe like a black-green deck too, but probably not because they actually have removal. But yeah, those 2 decks, which are in the top tiers right now, this'll be a thing. I actually quite like this card. And limited is disgusting too. Quirion Dryad, 1 in a green for a 1/1 creature Dryad. Whenever you cast a spell that's white, blue, black, or red, put a +1/+1 counter on Quirion Dryad. Now I see a lot of people. This is a weird card, right? Deck building is kind of tough for this one. You don't have to go 5 color. That's what a lot of people think when they first look at it. You could honestly just go. I saw someone with like a teamer list in Uro where like they're only green cards. Or you can just put this in like a Gruul deck and just play all red creatures, or in like a Simic deck and all your creatures are multicolored anyway. Stuff like that where you can then pump this up, because you only need 2 triggers to make this better than usual, and you're gonna be playing spells anyway, so you might as well. Yeah, it's almost like the green version of Hero Precinct 1. I don't think it's amazing. It dies super easily. Mayhem Devil will kill it so quickly if you're playing in a turn 2 or turn 3. And you need at least 2 triggers before you get anything out of it, which is, you know, for a 2-drop, it's eh. But it's also all it takes in one basket. One of the reasons why I really like this lady over here is that even if they kill her, you still have your 2/2s out. They'll have to do a sweeper to get like full value off, to negate your full value. This one Murder Strider negates all the work you're going for it. You know, one well-timed Deafening Clarion or Shadow the Sky, or Teferi Bounce really is a ball buster for this. So I don't like it very much, but I think it'll be a role player in some fringe tier 2 deck. So I'd give it like a C or a C minus. Ranger's Guile, single green for an instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 against hexproof until end of turn. Let's do it, dude. It's a worse blossoming defense, but we will take it. So good. It's rough with Teferi in the game right now. I'm so sick of having to say that, but it's true. But it's true. But my gosh, this is just so efficient. It's still so good whenever it works. Murder Strider, boom. They don't get the creature from the Murder Strider. You keep your creature. You netted 2 mana in that exchange, pretty much. Even like stomps and stuff, you're still netting a mana. If they do an Elspeth Conquers Death, oh baby, game over, man. Game over. I mean, they'll still get the other triggers off of it, but still, such a huge tempo gain for only having to hold up 1 mana, and just control decks have to play around this now. Even if you don't have it, will just make such a difference. It's yeah, it's gonna be great. I would see it as most creature-based decks will have maybe a couple in the main. They'll have a few in the sideboard, if not a couple in the main. So yeah, definitely, I guess that gives it like a C+ at that point. Really glad to have this back in standard. Gives creature decks a chance when Teferi rotates out. This is a reprint. Run afoul, target opponent sacrifices a creature with flying. Dang! 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 I love this card. I love this a lot. Gets around hexproof of Dream Trawler. Get wrecked, dude. Costs less than a plummet, and this does almost exactly the same thing as a plummet. The only way I see this being worse than plummet is against like blue-white flyers decks, which are like super fringe, where you're like, well, I gotta save this for their big angel creature that gives everything indestructible. But against 99% of the decks that you're subbing in plummet, this does the same job, you know, to hit their 1 Lyra, to hit their 1 Baneslayer Angel, to hit their 1 Dream Trawler, to hit their 1, I don't know, Terror of the Peaks will probably be one coming up, or their Luminous Broodmoth, and it costs half the mana. 1 is a lot less than 2, so much less than 2. Yeah, gets around indestructible, gets around hexproof, phenomenal card. I absolutely am excited to see this. It'll be a C. It'll be a sideboard card, but it'll be a good sideboard card. Sabertooth Mauler, 3 and a green. It'll depend on the meta, obviously. This is a limited card. This is a shrine. You know how I feel about those. Scooz. Scooz is back. 1 and a green for a 2/2. Creature Ooze. Pay 1 green. Exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a creature card, put a +1/+1 counter on Scavenging Ooze, and you gain 1 life. So good. So good. It's been good in the past. It'll be good now. It takes out Uro. It takes out Cat. It takes out things in response to Call of the Death Dweller. It reduces graveyards to deal with Luris. It's life gain against red decks. It gets big, so it's a good blocker against red decks. It's a threat against other decks. It removes cards before ECD, or as ECD hits them, or even before it hits them. So it gets rid of their Dream Trawlers and their Planeswalkers. It does way too much to not see play. It's so good. It dodges Elspeth Conquers Death while being a really big threat that they have to deal with. It's kind of weak to a Teferi bounce, but there's worse things. When you're in like a 5-6 drop territory, that's backbreaking. 2 drop, like I said, is not horrible. Yeah. I'd give this like an A. I think this will be a staple. Especially with Uro in the format, Croxa in the format, Polukranos in the format. So many graveyard-based decks. This is a much-needed reprint, and I think it's a slam dunk. Gruul will play this. Mono Green will play this. Sultai will play this. Abzan will play this. Temur Rek might even put 1 or 2 in the sideboard. I don't know. I'd be surprised if I saw that, but part of me also wouldn't be surprised. Phenomenal card. It's proven itself. It just does everything you want. Like I said, life gain, good threat, good blocker, interacts with all the most powerful things decks are doing right now. Except for maybe Team Rex, Expansion Explosion. But, you know, it'll help get rid of their Uros as well. Test training, reprint, you know how it goes. Skyway Sniper. Snare Sniper. Limited. Spore Web Weaver. 2 and a green for a 1/4 creature spider. Reach hexproof from blue. Whenever it is dealt damage, you gain 1 life and create a 1/1 green sapperling creature token. So this is kind of a weird card. Hexproof from blue makes it feel like it's supposed to be like an anti-control deck card, but it has very little power and it procs based on getting dealt damage. So these are two things that are weird to me. If it said like couldn't be countered, even then that'd still be weird to me. Yeah, that's odd. But against aggro decks, I think this is actually pretty good. It blocks Phoenixes pretty well. The Phoenix can pump and still hit it, but it gains you life when it gets into combat. It makes more blockers, which then can chump block super well. It's got a nice butt on it. It's got a booty. It's pretty thick. And yeah, Hexproof and blue, I guess that'll come into play against like Izzet decks, I guess. But I just don't see myself like sideboarding this in against like control. So that's where I think Hexproof and blue is pretty much flavor text. But yeah, also, this is a combo with Terror of the Peaks. So how it works is you give this indestructible any way you want. You got the 1/1 dog, we have Basri, we have Gideon, we have Heroic Intervention. So you have this out and you have Terror of the Peaks out. You have any creature come out that has, well, either give it indestructible first or play a creature and then give it indestructible. So you could play Terror of the Peaks turn 5, untap, play the 1/1 dog with the trigger on the stack, Terror of the Peaks, targeting your own Spore Web Weaver. You sack the dog, give the Spore Web Weaver indestructible, right? Then you deal the 1 damage. This procs, you make a 1/1. The 1/1 comes out, triggers Terror of the Peaks. You hit this guy, make another 1/1. That 1/1 triggers, hit it. So you get infinite 1/1s, infinite life. Pretty cool. It's probably too cute, we'll say, maybe. But I think it's pretty cool. What you could do, I don't know how you would do that. If you have a way to sacrifice creatures for free, like a Woe Strider, and anything that deals damage. So I guess if you went Jund instead of Naya, so you could have Mayhem Devils, and then you could have Heroic Intervention as your way of giving it indestructible instead of the dog or Gideon or something. Then you can kill them that same turn, but that requires so much setup. I think it'd be more worth it just to have a more basic deck and just throw this in as part of the combo. Because you would need Mayhem Devil, Woe Strider, Terror of the Peaks, and this guy out, and a Heroic Intervention. That's a lot to ask to achieve a combo like that. So otherwise, I think you're fine just gaining infinite life and making infinite 1/1s. It's a pretty good deal. So that's cool. We'll see if we can make that work. Best believe I'll try it. Not great for Arena, because you're going to get timed out, but you know, what are you going to do? So anyway, I give this like a C+. It'll be a good sideboard card against red, and Fringe decks will love it. So you might run like 1 or 2 in like your Gruul or Naya or Jund decks with Terror of the Peaks, just as like a backdoor combo potential, I guess. Or I mean, you could even if you don't have indestructible, you can just hit this 3 times, gain 3 life, and make 3 1/1s, and then the last ping you go to their face. That's pretty good too. Like, you don't need to go infinite for that to be good. So yeah, I give it like a C+ in that regard. Thrashing Bronzon, reprint, good card. Titanic Growth, limited, track down. 1 to green for a sorcery. Scry 3, then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature or land card, draw a card. I like Adventurous Impulse more than this, because it's pretty much just look at your top here. It does kind of the same thing, except if the top 3 of your deck aren't a creature or a land, this does more, I guess, than Adventurous Impulse. But that seems unlikely in a deck that you're running this in. This would probably be like your only sorcery, or one of a few, maybe a Planeswalker here and there. So you'd have a ton of lands, ton of creatures. I kind of like it. I'd give it like a C- to be honest though. We have just such powerful stuff. Maybe one of these in like mono green or something. But Yeah, maybe like a more combo-y mono green, or like a Jund deck if you want to really go all in and assemble the combo with the Spider and Terror of the Peaks. Maybe deck like that. But I'm not super pumped. I'd give it like a C minus. Truffle Snout, 2 and a green for a 2/2 creature boar. When it enters the battlefield, you can make it 3/3 or gain 4 life. Honestly, decent sideboard card. I really like this in my Vanifar deck. Now I have a green card that can gain me life that isn't an Uro. And that still has a body that sticks around that I can sack. So, yeah, love it. C minus, I guess, as well. Warden of the Woods. Whoa. Draw 2 cards. That's lovely. Spell or ability. Alright. Budget decks. Here we go, dude. I might have this in my top end for my budget decks. That'd be pretty cool. Drawing 2 cards off an ECD or Teferi or removal spell. That's pretty cool. Helps you get more fuel. Yeah, for an uncommon, that's pretty sweet, man. Wildwood Patrol, limited. Wildwood Scourge. X and a green for a 0/0 creature Hydra. When ETBs with X 1/1 counters, whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on another non-Hydra creature you control, put a +1/+1 counter on it. This card's great. I would give it like a B. I think it'll be a fringe tier 1 deck, might be Selesnya counters. You know, with Basri, and there's a green-white creature coming up that's really good with this. Venerated Luxodon is still in standard. There's just a lot of creatures. Adapt is still a thing. There's a lot of creatures that love counters, and just this gets so huge so quick. If you put a Venerated Luxodon out, how it works is this would get a counter, and then for each counter put on other creatures, you get that. So if you tap 4 creatures, including this one, this gets a counter from the Luxodon, and then it gets 3 more counters from the other 3 creatures getting counters, which is insane. If you have the green and white creature coming up, it gets 2 counters for each of those. So it would get 8 counters that turn. Disgusting. So yeah, if that's a tier 1 deck, it'll absolutely be a staple in that deck. Otherwise, it'll be a C, and it'll be a staple in that tier 2 deck and some other fringe ones. But yeah, excellent card. Niambi, esteemed speaker. One one and a I was gonna say one and a blue. White and a blue for a 2/1 legendary creature human cleric with flash. When it enters the battlefield, you may return another target creature you control to its owner's hand. If you do, you gain life equal to its CMC. Pay 1 white and blue and tap it. Discard a legendary card, draw 2 cards. It has flash, dang. Okay, okay. I wasn't down with this card, and then I saw the flash, and I was like, okay. Yeah, I see this. Yeah, I kind of like this. I saw this in a Hero of Precinct 1 deck, and that seemed pretty cool, like an Esper list. Because that deck has a lot of ETB cards, you know, Elite Guard Mage, Atris, the Hero Precinct 1 triggers based on, you know, casting cards, so that's good too. But most importantly, I like this as a response to a removal spell. This is like a counter spell, effectively, you know? They go, Murderous Rider, target your thing. I don't always say Murderous Rider, it doesn't even see play anymore. Elspeth Conquers Death, target your Atris, I guess. And you're like, JK, boom, play this, bring it up, gain 4 life, and then, if you draw extra copies of this, you can discard it to draw 2 cards. If you return another legendary card to your hand and you need to draw something else, like if there's a legendary that's not good anymore, like, I don't know, Fibblethip or something, If you want to just pay 1 white blue, discard it, draw 2 cards, that's pretty decent. This is like, I don't think this makes the card. I think it's just an extra just ability they tacked on there, just give a little more rate. But yeah, the fact that it has flash so that you can do this in response to removal spells is pretty great. Like if you're against mono red, right, and you have an elite guard mage, they attack with a 2/2, you block, they play Infuriate, or they go to shock it. Play this in response, get back your elite guard mage, gain 4 life, play it again, boom, we're off to the races. That's pretty sick. Or in a deck like this, you'll probably playing like a Thassa or something. If they play an ECD, target your Thassa. It'd have to be a creature though, so that doesn't work. Dang it, I thought I said another non-land permanent. But yeah, I like those play patterns quite a bit. I'm trying to figure out where else this would fit into. I like this a lot. Oh, dang. This is really good with adventure cards too, because you get a spell out of the deal, and since adventure cards are 2 faces, they have a really high converted mana cost. So if you put like a Bone Crusher Giant back in your hand, you gain 5 life. That's really good. Murder Strider, you gain 6. Beanstalk Giant, I mean, he costs 7 to play, so it's not, you know, but he'd give you 10 life. Huh. Yeah, the more I think about this card, the more I like it. Okay, Niambi. Okay. It's also pretty good with, we have that 3 mana, the guy I wasn't super high on, but I'm kind of coming around on. I still think he's going to be like a C+ at best, maybe like I guess a B-. No, I'm going to go C+ on him. Basri, the blue, 1 blue, 2/2 who bounces things. Whenever a creature you control goes to your hand, draw a card. Well, if it happened, draw a card. This works really well with that, which I didn't see at the time, because I didn't read this card, I didn't know it existed. But yes, biggest thing with this card though is, yeah, it's just a bunch of little interactions that are really good. ETB creatures are always pushed in standard. It's like what you have to do. You interact with removal spells in a positive way. You have a lot of decks that fit in with cast triggers or ETB triggers being repeated, which is good. And gaining life off of it is just a nice bonus that helps it be not too dirtily against aggressive decks. So yeah, I would give this, honestly, probably still C+ or a B-. I think blue-white Thassa isn't going to be a thing for a little while. I don't think it's good enough. I think Bant is just so much better. And Esper Hero is still a little too dirtily, but maybe it's a thing. Maybe it's a thing again, thanks to stuff like this in Basri, and who knows, man. Okay, I'll give it a B-. I think one of those decks might break out into like the tier 1 to 1.5 range. The card in and of itself is phenomenal. I just don't think the format is in a spot for it right now. So yeah, that or tier 2 decks I think will love this. Maybe even just a sideboard card. Watch of the Spheres. White's blue for a 2/2 creature bird wizard with flying. Creature spells with flying you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever another creature with flying enters the battlefield under your control, Watcher of the Spheres gets +1/+1 till end of turn. Phenomenal for the Flyers deck. We'll give this a C. Because the Flyers deck I don't think will be tier 1. But it is a thorn in your side and it can get some wins. Gosh, it's just so much work. Because you play this, turn 2, untap. You can play 3 2-drops and attack for 5. You can play, I mean more realistically, 1 or 2 2-drops and a 1-drop. This attacks for 5. That's disgusting. And so now White Blue Flyers has 2 really good 2-drops. It has this and the Skycat Sovereign. That's pretty sick. Yeah, phenomenal card for that deck. I just don't see it making huge differences in tier 1 play. Obsessive Stitcher, white, blue, black for an 0/3 creature human wizard. Tap it to loot, or pay 2 blue, black and tap it. To sacrifice it, return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. If that second ability didn't require you to tap, I think I'd be pretty high on this card. But the fact you can't loot the same turn, and then if you loot and find something, to then, you know, reanimate something, that's kind of a bummer to me. That means you'd have to put something in your yard on turn 2 in order to have this get something back on turn 4. You know what I mean? You can't put it in there itself on curve, which might be for the best, because reanimating something on turn 4 is pretty powerful. We had to ban something because it was getting something back on turn 5 consistently. So, yeah. I mean, that was also leaving you with a Planeswalker, and you were also blinking it with Yorion. That's part of the reason why it was banned. But, still pretty powerful. I'd give it like a C-. Fringe tier 2 play. There will be some Reanimator decks that'll try this out. I'm going to try it out in a Reanimator deck. But yeah, because now you have this and the Lich, the 1/3. And you're just going to loot into Fairy. You're going to loot through like your entire deck so quick. Just to find the reanimation spell, and then bam. Just wondering what you're reanimating at this point, though, is the problem. So yeah. Direfleet Warmonger is limited. Leafkin Avenger. I want to say limited. It could be fringe playable in like tier 2 to tier 2.5 decks. Because this ability is pretty insane. You don't need to tap for it. If you have like a Nikia, which just doubles your mana, I think there could be something here. This on turn 4, Nikia turn 5. Or this turn 3 off of Paradise Druid. Nikia turn 4, turn 5, boom. Target player or planeswalker. Well, it can't hit creatures. I mean, I guess it's a good way to burn them out, but yeah, that's a bummer. But yeah, constructed it's so bad. It dies to all the removal. It gets bounced by the fairy. It doesn't have any ATBs. It could be equal to its power, so it only ever deals 4. So you have to do quite a bit. I could maybe see it as a fun of in like Temur Elementals, as a way to just burn out your opponent. But Omnath and Thassa already kind of does that, so yeah, don't like that too much. I give it like a D. Rada, Heart of Keld. 1 red, green for 3/3 legendary creature elf warrior. As long as it's your turn, Rada, Heart of Keld has first strike. You may look at the top card of your library anytime, and you may play land cards on the top of your library. 4 red, green, Rada gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of lands you control. My gosh. This is the Gruul Questing Beast. Creatures have so much text now, man. Insane. 3 mana 3/3 first strike on your turn is already like, you're raising an eyebrow. The pump ability, it's, oh my gosh, okay. Looking at top card of your library and playing lands from it is already phenomenal. That's just straight up card advantage whenever it happens. But you're already kind of on board. And then that pump ability, it helps you hit your land drops to get to that pump ability. And then that pump ability is insane. And it gets better the more land drops you play. Like, imagine this with the Embercleave on it. And then you pay that. You'd get at least +6/+6. I guess if you have a Lanarel for a Domri, you could get +5/+5. And so then we'll say +6/+6. That's a 9/9. 10/10 with Embercleave. Boom, 20 damage. That's kind of Magical Christmas Land. Kind of. But, oh my gosh, dude. If this draws you 1 land off the top of your library, it already replaced itself. And it just does so much damage with that pump ability. And threat of activation is a huge thing. There's so many times your opponent's going to have a 5/5 or 6/6 or an 8/8 in play. And you're going to attack with this with 6 mana up. And you don't even have to do anything. If they block, you just kill it. If they don't, free 3 damage. Play your Domri, play your Questing Beast. Or heck, just play your Embercleave, kill him. Like, whoo, this is an excellent card. I'm going to give this like a B+. B+. I think it's going to be an automatic 3 or 4 of in Gruul decks. I think that there will be some mid-rangey decks, like Jund. Not Food Jund, but just like a normal Jund deck would probably love this as well. Just things that help you hit your land drops for like no cost while still being a good rate are so good in mid-range decks. And this just does that for you. There's so many 3-drops that help you hit land drops and have value. I'm buzzing. I'm so excited for mid-range plays. Yeah, so I think Jund will be like a tier 1.25 deck, maybe tier 1.5. Gruul is already a tier 1 deck, and this will just make it even better. So, yes, this card is phenomenal. Definitely a fan. Conclave Mentor, green and white for a 2/2 Centaur Cleric. If one or more counters would be put on a +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature you control, that many +1, so 1 extra, +1/+1 counters are put on that creature instead. They should have said an additional instead of, because then you have to read it as that many +1/+1/+1 counters. That's kind of an awkward read. Anyway, when it dies, you gain life equal to its power. This card's amazing. Constrictor, Coiling Constrictor, I think it is what it was called, but now in Selesnya. So now you can go obs on counters with this Coiling Constrictor and, gosh, what is that one-man enchantment? Hardened Scales. So now you have 12 effects like this. That's insane. Might be more than you want, but who knows, man. And like I said earlier, this could be a pretty strong tier 1.5 or tier 2 deck, because mono white's kind of a thing, and you can even just splash this into mono white with Heliod. Heliod putting 2 counters on things is insane. And then this dying to gain you life will really help you get in Historic your Sarah Ascendants online, or your new 1-drop that taps to make angels if you have 27 life. And it helps you get your Ajani online. It does so much work. But I mean, that's kind of a fringe scenario. Otherwise, you can just play green-white counters, and you have things like Venerated Luxodon putting 2 counters on all your things. This is on curve. It's a 2-mana 2/2. When it dies, you gain life, so it's good against mono red as well. You can trade for a creature, gain 2 life. That's pretty much another card. That's like a stomp or a shock you're trading for at that point. Yeah, really good. I'd give this a C+. Just depends on if Selesnya can make it into the big leagues. But it's definitely one of the biggest factors that'll push it there. Dang, that's sick. With Basri, this is also quite good. Curves into Basri. Putting 2 counters on anything every turn is really good. That makes his +1 like way better. Oh man. And then his Basri's -2 with this will help you get creatures out for Venerated Luxodon. Dang, yeah, sick. Love it. Indulging Patrician, 1 white black for a 1/4 vampire noble with flying and lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 more life this turn, each opponent loses 3 life. Okay, first of all, if it's at either end step, beginning of the next end step, or at the beginning of each player's end step, this would be disgusting. You could win so quick. That's probably why they did that. I think black-white life gain will be tier 2 still. I'm honestly thinking mono white might be a little bit better, because it has more, it's more aggressive, and it has a little bit more staying power, especially if you put like Dawn of Hope in it or something. You're drawing like 3 cards a turn at that point if you have a Linden out. Black-white life gain is better at it's better just comboing out your opponent if you have like a Broodmoth, Cruel Celebrant. Veto is also going to do a lot of work there. Soren's good too. So maybe this will put them on the same playing field, but then either way, mono white is still tier 2 right now. So I give this a C. A C or a C-, because you still have to do quite a bit to get it going. It's just a 3-mana 1/4 flyer lifelink. Otherwise, yeah, I think you have more slots to fill. I think I'd rather be playing Midnight Reapers and Vetoes and stuff like that. Veto just does more for you than this. This is like a budget version. But who knows? Maybe the deck will play both of them. So yeah, C or C-. Experimental Overload. 2 blue-red for a sorcery. Create an XX blue and red weird creature token where X is the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. Then you may return an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Experimental Overload. Love this card. At least as like a 2 of. And is it Phoenix? Prowess decks? Even like a Teamer Spells deck might be a thing. Growth Spiraling up to your Double Visions or whatever. This with Double Visions is sick, by the way. Best believe I'm going to be trying to do that. Wow. Yeah, that's really cool. And then you get to return a card. It's like Invade the City, the one where you amass equal to your instants or sorceries. And that saw tiny fringe play in like the tier 1.5, tier 2 for a little bit. I'd say tier 2. Phoenix was the thing for like a month or 2, and then it just kind of poofed out of existence. This seems so good. Could you imagine playing this and getting back Finale? Finale does exile the other 2 spells, so that's kind of a nombo, but my gosh, dude. The red Finale is what I'm talking about, by the way. So yeah, I think this will be a tier 2 card, or an excellent card in tier 2 decks, is like a 2 of. Because you make a threat and you get a card back. So imagine just, if you had a 4 mana to make a 6/6 that drew you your best card from your graveyard, you would totally play that. So Definitely at least 2 of those decks. C, strong C, limited, lower scale Coatl. 1 green blue for a 2/2 creature snake. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on lower scale Coatl. Nice. This is a C. I think the budget Simic deck is shaping up with this. You have this, you have Landlord Visionary, you have your Cultivates, you have Growth Spirals, you have that, I guess you could put in if you have a couple rares, the Monvuli Cat Lady, who every time you draw an extra card, you make a 2/2. So now you're going wide and tall with these 2 threats. Yeah. Love this for those decks. Don't think it's nearly good enough for, you know, the tier 1s of standard. It gets hit by an ECD, it takes forever to get good, Teferi bounces it. It can die to a stomp when it comes down. But it does grow every turn. You don't have to draw an extra card. Every card you draw. So yeah, that's pretty cool. C. Rin and Seri, Inseparable. 1 red, green, white, 4/4 for a 4/4 legendary creature dog cat. Whenever you cast a dog spell, make a 1/1 green cat. Whenever you cast a cat spell, make a 1/1 white dog. Then you can pay red, green, white, and tap it. It deals damage to any target equal to the number of dogs you control. You gain life equal to the number of cats you control. If this was reversed, I think this card would be even way better. Because there's way more cats than there are dogs right now. And the dealing damage part is way more important than the gaining the life. For sure. Oh, for sure. But that being said, if you do cast cat spells, you are getting dogs. So it can kind of work out that way. But at the very least, with no other creatures out, this is pay 3, tap it, deal 1, gain 1. Which isn't terrible. If you cast like 2 cat spells, it's tap, deal 3, gain 3. That's huge in like creature matchups. You can ping their face if you're in a stalemate. You can ping off their creatures. You can break a stalemate. You can hit their planeswalkers. It's insane. Any target is huge for this card. I don't think it's enough support for the dogs and cats to make it standard viable, but I'll give it a C because cats are almost there. And with the help of dogs, both of them together and Naya will be kind of cool. We'll definitely make that deck. I don't want to spend mythic wildcards on this, so as we open them, we'll make the deck. But yeah, this ability is insane. Sanctum. This is the reason to go 5 color rather than like 4 color and just ditch the bad Sanctums. So yeah, love the art, love the card. We're gonna make shrines, don't worry. Chromatic Orrery. 7 mana of any color. To cast a legendary artifact, you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color. You can tap it to add 5 mana. 5 colorless mana, but that doesn't matter because of its ability. Pay 5 and tap it, draw a card for each color among permanents you control. So it helps you draw cards, it helps fix your mana to cast those cards, and it helps add mana to cast those cards. You do have to tap it to draw those cards, so you don't do it that same turn. But I actually really like this card. This is kind of what I want in my top end for like my 5 color deck. Because I mean, this with Niv Mizzet, you're drawing 5 cards. Niv Mizzet draws you plenty of cards. And I mean, it's greedy. I don't think it's going to be tier 1. It gets countered so easy. It gets bounced. It gets exiled with ECD. Brazen Borrowered. People are playing Embereth Shield Breakers in sideboards a ton because of all the oven decks. There's a lot of overlapping artifact removal from all the enchantment removal people are playing. I saw some people playing main deck Wilts. I mean, that's painful for this. But you could also think of it as it effectively costs 2 mana to play because you cast it for 7 and then you tap it for 5. So the turn it comes down, if you have a 5 mana play after this, you're kind of doing it. So I think I'll give it a C. Fringe playable. Maybe like a C+. If Niv Mizzet decks get back, or like some really ramp heavy 3-color deck that can just draw a million cards, that'd be cool. But otherwise I think it'd be like a tier 2, tier 2.5. Tier fun. But something to note, this works really well with Titan's Nest. Titan's Nest, the one that exiles cards from a yard and adds colorless to your mana pool. This makes that any color. So now if you have cards... So now for instance, if you have a Glowspore Shaman, you play that, you put 3 cards in your yard. You're now netting a mana. And if you have another Glowspore Shaman in your hand, you can play that. If you have stuff that draws you cards off of it, So you have stuff that draw cards and put cards in your yard. I don't know, like an Atris. You can take one card, put two in your yard. You're just feeling it, and you can keep casting more and more spells. You don't have to. You're not limited by the colors of mana you can produce. So that's something that I'm excited for and would love to try out. And even protect it. You could play this, tap it, and then play Titan's Nest, and then you're just off. Seems pretty cool. Pretty cool. Fun card. Chromatic Replicator, I think, is limited, but surprisingly powerful. You can get an 8/8. 2 or more non-land, non-token permanents with the same name. Sure. Play this with clone effects. That'd be kind of funny. With Thassa blinking it, But yeah, limited or C-. Epitaph Golem is limited. Forgotten Sentinel is limited. Maze Mind Toe. 2 mana for an artifact. You can tap it and put a page counter on it. Scry 1. You can pay 2 and tap it, put a page counter on it, draw a card. When there are 4 or more page counters on it, exile it. If you do, you gain 4 life. A lot of people are really high on this card, and I don't really get it. Treasure Map hardly even saw a ton of play, and Treasure Map was way better than this. And it had more synergies, and it still didn't see like a ton of play. It was probably like a B or a B- on my scale. And this is so much worse than that. If you sacrificed it, I'd be on board. You can get it back with Luris, you can get it back with Tameo, you can get it back with so many cards. But you exile it. 4 life is fine, but at best, so you play this in turn 2, tap it to scry. Cool. And then you can draw a card 3 more times if you have the mana, or scry. That's just, yeah, I don't know. It is, the one place I would really see a home for it is Doom Foretold decks. Especially with Yorion. Because A, you need 80 cards, so you're looking for a lot of playables. And B, you can get your mileage out of it, and if the 4 life doesn't matter to you, then you just don't do the last counter and sack it to Doom Foretold. C, you can just blink it with Yorion to get more value out of it. So, like, that's interesting, but I'm still not super impressed by it. It just doesn't do enough. You're effectively paying, if you don't even scry the first turn, well, let's do what we scry the first turn, right? So you pay 2 to play it, you activate it 3 times, and then 1 free scry, right? You're paying 6 mana to draw 3 cards and scry 1. I guess? And gain 4 life. I guess? People were playing cards in standard like, gosh, what was that? I forget what it's called, but it was 5 mana, draw 3 in standard a long time ago. Unless this lets you spread it out over turns. I'm still not, I still think it's like a C. Like fringe playable. I don't see this making any waves in Constructed. Maybe in like a Doom Foretold Yorion deck. I'm just not excited for it. Meteorite artifact with ETB, deal 2 damage to any target, add 1 mana of any color. There was some cool combo with this where you keep on blinking it to burn out your opponent. I don't even know if it was a combo, it's just every turn thing you can do that. But yeah, limited for sure. Palladium Myr, 3 mana for a 2/2 for Myr. You can tap it to add double Colorless. Dies to everything, costs 3 mana. So, not great, but if you want to play like a fringe deck like Mono Red, this could be pretty cool for you. Ramp you up to that Chandra, right? And then your Chandra kills it with that sweeper. So not amazing, but you know. I'd say C-, D. Limited, limited, limited. Silent Dart's limited, Sky Scanner limited. Yes, here he is! My favorite card. Solemn Simulacrum. I've wanted this card back in Standard my whole life, boys. Strap your butts. 4 colorless for a 2/2 artifact creature golem. When Solemn Simulacrum enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card. Put the card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. When he dies, you may draw a card. So much value. Coming in and going out. The only way I could like him more is if he cost 3 and he was a 1/1 instead. Well, 3 and a 2 I'd like more, but obviously that's not going to happen. Gosh, he's so good. He fixes your mana. He's colorless, so he goes in any deck. He ramps you. He draws a card when he dies. So he's good to blink. He's good to sacrifice. You can fetch him up with a Fiend Artisan. You can sack him with a Fiend Artisan. You can fetch him with a Vanifar. Sack him with a Vanifar. You can just play him for value and then trade him off in combat. He's so good, dude. He's so good. I love him. He's colorless. He's never hard to cast. When you're mana fixing, you can cast no matter what. That's a gift. That is a beautiful gift. Dying and drawing a card, man. Oh, so good. So good. When I was in when we had Kaladesh, there was Filigree Familiar. It was 3 mana for a 2/2 that gained you life when he enters and drew a card when he dies. That was like the closest thing I got to Solemn. I came into Standard, back into Standard right when Solemn was rotating out. Back when like Heartless Summoning was a thing. Yeah, you best believe I played Heartless Summoning with this. Super fun. Gosh, it is so much. It's good on its own. It's good if you build around it. It's like I said, dude, colorless, ramping, fixing, card draw. What more could you want? He does everything. And his art. This one's like kind of cool, whatever. His last art was phenomenal. So if we ever have paper, I'm definitely playing with that other art. Super cool card. One of my favorites of all time. Just a mid-range player's dream. I'm going to blink this with Thassa. I'm going to fetch it up with Vannifar. I'm going to sack it to kill Fiend Artisan. I'm going to fetch it up with Fiend Artisan. If I said Kiln Fiend earlier and dead, just know that I meant Fiend Artisan. I keep on doing that. Oh, yes. I think I'm going to give this a B. I think it'll be seeing play in Tier 1 decks. More than you think. More than you think. And Tier 2 decks, like Jank I'm playing, will love this card for mana fixing for multiple colors. And just because if you're ramping all the way up to Ugin, a card that ramps you without having to take a land from your hand and draws you a card to help you hit more land drops. It doesn't die to Ugin. It attacks Ugin. That's big Ugin. Little Ugin makes this cost 2. It makes it cost 2 mana. Like what? Karn can fetch it up from his sideboard? Karn the Great Creator? That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Little Ugin can't kill this if it's on the opposing side of the battlefield. It's yes. Yes, yes, please. So if you play this and ramp into Ugin, you get to minus Ugin, exile everything without this getting hit. If your opponent has an Ugin and it minuses everything, your Simulacrum sticks around and attacks. It's great. It's great. Solid B. Let's go, dude. Maybe even B+. I want it to be a B+. I love this card. This art's like kind of cool. It's weird how it's kind of like fleshy here or like red. I don't understand what's going on there, but it's kind of cool. Spark Hunter Masticore, 3 mana for 3/4 Masticore. As an additional cost to cast this spell, discard a card. Protection from Planeswalkers, yes please. Pay 1. It deals 1 damage to target Planeswalker. Pay 3, it gains Indestructible. So you're down a card when you play this, which is kind of a bummer. But it can't get bounced by Teferi. Can't get killed by Planeswalkers except for Liliana by making you sack it. So Little Vraska doesn't kill it. 6 mana Ugin doesn't kill it. It doesn't get hit by 8 mana Ugin. Yeah. Yeah. Sweet. And then the 1 damage to ping their Planeswalkers is really good. Because how many times does your opponent have like a 2 loyalty Teferi? Or 1 loyalty Narset? And it's just messing you up. Those passive abilities just ruining your day. Well, that's every day for me. So yeah. Spark Hunter Masticore. The fact that you're down a card, if you play around it, like if you build your deck around it so that discarding a card is actually good for you. Like who knows, man, discard like a Demonic Embrace. Or an Uro. Or a Kroxa. Or that 1 mana 1/1 lifelink that you can bring back as a 5/5 flyer. That's pretty cool. I think I'd give this like a C+. I think it'll be a decent sideboard card. I'd be surprised if it's on main deck play. Maybe in like mono green. Just the fact you have to discard and because the additional cast is to cast it, not when it enters. And so what bugs me there is that if it gets countered, you're still discarding a card. And a lot of those Planeswalker heavy decks, like Teferis and Narsets, have counter magic. So not a fan of that. It also dies to Elspeth Conqueror's Death, which is a huge bummer. And so even if you just ping down all their Planeswalkers, they'll just play ECD, hit this, and then get back the Planeswalkers you killed. So yeah, I think I'll give it like a C+. It's good. It'll probably be better than I think, but I'm not super impressed by it. Tormod's Crypt, excellent piece of graveyard interaction that you can recur with Lurrus as well. You can just play this turn 1, leave it on the board, wait for your opponent's combo. If they play an Uro, you know, You can just hit it. Although, if they play an Uro, and then it goes to the yard, and then they have enough cards, you don't get priority in time. You can do it before Uro enters the graveyard, but once he enters, unless they put in a Scryland to where you get priority again, you can't do it before they escape him. So that's kind of a bummer. But yeah, great. There's a ton of graveyard stuff going on. This will be an excellent sideboard card. And honestly, you might even just put this in the Historic Affinity deck if you really want to go. They're playing stuff like Ornithopter, man. So maybe just keep this around if you really want to be explosive. I don't know. That's greedy. I don't think you should do it, but you could. Ugin, the Spirit Dragon. 8 mana for 7 loyalty. Ugin Planeswalker. +2, it deals 3 damage to any target. -X. Exile each permanent with converted mana cost X or less. That is 1 or more colors. So basically anything that isn't colorless. -10, you gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, then put up to 7 permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Sorry. That's a powerful ultimate, and he gets there in 2 turns. So you play him, boom, turn 9. So turn 10, assuming you only hit 1 land drop a turn. 8 mana is a lot more than people expect, so I don't expect this to be amazing as a top end just for like your, your blue-black control deck. Maybe, who knows? If you're going like the disinformation campaign route where you're just deprive your opponent of resources, maybe you can have the game go long enough. But I don't think Standard's in a place that's gonna do really well right now. But he is powerful enough to make the 8 mana worth it. And I like that he's 8 mana because if he was like, you could cheat him out with Luca or something, like a Agent of Treachery, that'd be a bummer. But yeah, if your board gets swept for 8 mana, you're not that pissed. You're like, well, it was 8 mana. It should do that. So yeah, you get to play this, go -X for 5, whatever. Kill the Nissa, the Krasis. I don't know, they're Questing Beast, they're ECD, they're Teferi. Boom. All gone. Happy times now. You can plus it to ping down a Narset that takes down once will get killed by this. A Teferi that takes down will get killed by this. You can kill a Nissa over the course of a couple turns. It hits Nissa lands. That's huge. That's a great way to protect itself. It protects itself super well. And that ultimate is just, if you lose the game after playing the ultimate, you're just the unluckiest person ever. You'd have to hit like 6 lands or something. Yeah, my gosh. Yeah, he is super powerful, super good. Ramp is not a problem here. We have Grazer, we have Growth Spiral, we have Landlord Visionary, we have Uro, we have Cultivate, we have Migration Path, we have Nissa. Honestly, Nissa into this is really good. Because then if you go -4, you can get rid of all your opponent's things. But the Nissa lands are colorless. So all your Nissa lands stay. Great way to clear the path for them. It's just insane, dude. He can take down Brazen Borrowers just by plussing. He has a ton of loyalty if you plus him, so he's not just going to get... They'd have to flash in 3 Brazen Borrowers to take him down if you plus. That's quite a bit. They could just bounce him or whatever, sure. That'd be kind of a bummer, but... He can -4 and take out Wilderness Reclamations. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's insane. He could take out Trail of Crumbs, Gooses. If you -3 him against like a Luris deck, they're just done. They're so done. Excuse me, sorry. Unless they have like a Woe Strider out and they scry their way to like a Call of the Death Dwellers. Ooh. Ooh. But yeah. Excellent card. A. He's going to be an A. He's definitely going to see play in Tier 1 Standard. Might wait till rotation, who knows? Maybe Flash decks will be too powerful. Maybe it'll bring in Flash decks and it'll fall back a little bit. But he will make waves in Standard. 100%. Amazing card. You're going to put in like 1 or 2, maybe 3 in like a lot of your decks. 3 if you're really greedy. And then lands, we just got all the basics and then temples. I'm pissed about temples. There's a reprint problem going on in Arena because this is the same art, but they're going to make you open all of them in N21 again. So that's just 20 rare card slots that are just wasted. Absolutely wasted right now. So hopefully they rectify that somehow. Maybe what I think they should do is if it's different art, you just open it once and you get that art and then boom, you're done. You have 4 pieces of that art. It's happened with commons and uncommons a lot already, like ops and stuff, but that's not as much of a backbreaker. I'm fine with that, I guess. But rares and mythics, it's a huge problem. Huge problem. So something like that, or honestly, even just straight up, you don't even open them and you can just buy them. Like if you already have them, then they just automatically show up for you in the store and you can buy the new styles. Or it's automatically the up-to-date art. Like if you come into the game and you haven't had the previous arts of the card, it's automatically the up-to-date card from the set when you try to put it in your deck. Well, that wouldn't work because then people going backwards wouldn't. No, that's still fine. Yeah, I don't know. The solution's a hard one. And then you can buy the older versions in the store. They come around every once in a while. But otherwise, you just have people who already have the old arts automatically have access to purchasing the newer arts. The same way you can purchase the, this type of art on Arena. You can just like right-click it in your deck builder and be like, hey, I want to purchase this art for like, I don't know, 200 gold or something. They're going to charge like 4,000, obviously, because they're, they just want your money. They don't care that you have a good experience, but yeah. One of those things is what I would ask for them to do. That'd be really cool. Yeah, Fabled Passage too. So that's 24 packs that could be worthless to you. 24. Not, like, literally worthless. Because commons, uncommons, most people are fine with those, whatever. You don't even get vault progress. You don't even get gems. Just useless packs. 24. For some people, because you're supposed to get, what, like a pack a day? That's like 3 weeks of grinding. If you're not doing standard events or drafts or something. 3 weeks. That's way too much, and that's unacceptable. But that being said, as you can see with some of the reprints and some of the cards, I'm super pumped for the set. Oh yeah, Animal Sanctuary. These cards aren't really... Cats? I think cat will be the one that comes up the most. Other than that, I don't think there's enough. And cats are probably going to want to be 2 colors. This might be kind of tough. But yeah. Love the art. Love the flavor. Really cool. But yeah, not going to make any waves, I don't think. C. I give it a C. Anyway, I'm super excited for a lot of the cards in the set. A lot of the black and red cards. A ton of the green cards. Solemn Simulacrum. Ugin will be cool to play with. Yeah, super pumped. What are you guys most excited for? Otherwise, we'll catch you with some brews. Go to my my Aether Hub account to see any of the decks I'm brewing up before I even play with them. Let me know if you're excited to see any of those. And yeah, hope you have an excellent day. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you in the next video.